Miss Sterling, the pseudoside service you booked with us has been arranged. Here is the agreement. Please sign here. Jane Sterling looked at the document pushed in front of her. Client, Jane Sterling, method of death. Fall from a cliff, devoured by wild beasts, no remains found. Time of death, 1 week from today. 1 week from today was her 5th wedding anniversary with Ethan Wright. It was also the day she had planned to fake her death and leave him. Since they started on that date, let them end on that date. Walking out after signing the agreement, she saw Ethan's exclusive interview playing on a nearby news screen. The host asked, "CEO Wright, you are so young and promising. What is the secret to your success?" Ethan Wright lifted his left hand, pointing to the wedding ring on his ring finger. "The secret is I have a wonderful wife." The host paused for a moment. "Oh, I thought you would share your analysis and plans for the industry's future." "Those things aren't important. All the wealth I possess now isn't worth a single strand of my wife's hair. I really envy your wife." On the screen, Ethan checked his watch, then smiled at the camera. "Apologies, let's pause the interview for a moment. Time is almost up. I'd like to borrow your live broadcast to say something to my wife." "Of course, CEO Wright, go ahead." Ethan's voice softened even more. "Janie, I just had someone buy you some hot ginger tea. It should be arriving soon. Drink it and get some good sleep. I'll rub your stomach for you when I get home from work." Several girls nearby were gathered around, watching the live broadcast on the big screen. Hearing this, they all let out sounds of envy. Who exactly is CEO Wright's wife? She must be a goddess to make a man like him so devoted. So sweet, so doting. I'm dying of jealousy. For a moment, Jane's ears were filled with envious voices. Only she, the person involved, curled her lips in a mocking sneer. Everyone thought she must have saved the galaxy in her past life to marry a rare, good man like Ethan Wright. She used to think so too, but no one knew that Ethan was keeping another woman on the side. They had been married for 5 years, and Ethan had been keeping her for 4.5. Every time he said he was going on a business trip, he was actually going to that other woman, indulging in wild, passionate affairs. Jane remembered the first time she saw those videos. It felt like her heart was pierced by 10,000 needles, pulled out and pierced again. Until finally, it was riddled with holes and broken beyond repair. She also remembered that when she was bullied in school as a child, it was Ethan who stood in front of her and taught those bullies a lesson. He told her, "Don't be afraid. I'll protect you from now on." Another time, when they were driving, an out-of-control truck came crashing toward them from the opposite direction. Ethan's first reaction was to throw himself over her to protect her. He ended up in the hospital for over half a year, nearly becoming a vegetable. When he woke up, his first words to the nurse were, "Is Janie okay?" Hearing the nurse's confirmation, he breathed a sigh of relief. "It's good that Janie is okay. It doesn't matter what happens to me." It was from that moment that Jane completely fell in love with this man who was willing to use his life to protect her. She didn't understand how Ethan could love her and yet sleep with another woman so brazenly at the same time. Sure enough, men can separate sex and love, can't they? Jane stroked the wedding ring on her ring finger, then took it off. Just then, she saw a disabled beggar by the roadside. The tattered bowl in front of him held only a few coins. Jane walked over and dropped the ring into it. "Go sell this. The money you get will be enough to buy a house and start a small business." The beggar thanked her profusely. Actually, Jane was being modest. Ethan had commissioned a foreign designer to custom make this ring privately. The diamond alone was worth millions of dollars, but now she didn't want it anymore. If a wedding ring symbolized love and fidelity, then hers was currently worthless. Her phone rang. It was Ethan. "Janie, where are you? The delivery person with the ginger tea arrived at the house and said you weren't there." His tone was urgent, as if he was truly worried about her. Jane simply said, "I just came out for a walk. Where are you now? I'll come pick you up immediately." "No need, I'm heading back now." "No, you're on your period today, I'm worried." Ethan arrived very quickly. It took less than 5 minutes. He rushed out of the car, took off his coat, draped it over her shoulders, and held her in his arms. "Why are you wearing so little? You shouldn't catch a cold during your period." Jane looked up from his embrace and saw several red kiss marks around his Adam's apple. Fresh ones, still bearing teeth marks. His body was also tainted with the scent of a woman's perfume. So, before he went to the interview today, he had just climbed out of Lola Banks' bed. Ethan rubbed her fingers, then suddenly asked with some surprise, "Janie, where's your wedding ring?" Jane pulled her hand directly out of his palm. "Maybe I accidentally lost it when I went out today." Ethan immediately pulled out his phone to dial. "I'll have someone look for it right away." Jane shook her head. "No need, just consider it lost. How can we just lose it? That ring is our wedding ring, it's the proof of our love." Proof of love. Their love had long since been unrecognizable amidst his repeated betrayals. Jane smiled. "It's just a piece of jewelry. It can't guarantee love." Ethan said, "Diamonds are the hardest substance. They represent my unchanging heart for you. If one day you betray me, impossible. I'm saying if." Ethan looked into her eyes, sincere, solemn, and swore a poisonous oath. "If I betray you, may I be pierced by 10,000 arrows and die a horrible death." Jane turned her face away, not wanting to look at his pretense of deep affection right now. In the past, when she still loved him. If she heard him swear such a serious oath, she would have immediately rushed to cover his mouth. She would have even felt that she had gone too far, forcing him to the point of swearing oaths. But now, she didn't love him anymore, and this sentence sounded like a joke. "Janie," Ethan hugged her from behind, sounding slightly aggrieved, "why do I feel like your mood has been a bit off lately? You seem much colder to me." "I'm not." "You are," Ethan said. "Janie, is it because I've been too busy lately and haven't had time to accompany you? Are you angry with me?" "I said I'm not. Let go of me first." "I won't let go." Ethan hugged her even tighter. "Next week is our 5th wedding anniversary. Janie, I've prepared a surprise for you." As he was speaking, his phone rang. Ethan let go of her almost immediately and pulled out his phone to glance at it. From Jane's perspective, she saw Ethan smirk playfully, his eyes staring at the screen instantly turning flirtatious. He replied quickly, then said to Jane with a hint of apology, "Janie, something urgent came up at the company. I have to go over there now." Jane still had a sliver of hope in her heart. "Then, when will you be back?" Ethan circled her waist and kissed her forehead. "I might not be back tonight. When I come back tomorrow morning, I'll bring your favorite pastries, okay?" Ethan left. His tablet was still on the living room sofa. Jane picked it up and found that his WhatsApp was synced and online. 2 minutes ago, a woman nicknamed Little Vixen had sent him a picture. In the photo, the woman was wearing a revealing and seductive bunny girl outfit. Black mesh stockings, bright red high heels. Her eyes were glazed, her cheeks flushed, and she was sticking out her tongue to lick her finger. "Ethan, want it again?" "Little Vixen, on nights when Master isn't here, Little Vixen feels so empty and lonely." "Ethan, I loved you 7 times during the day and you're still not satisfied. Little Vixen, is Master coming? Little Vixen is at your disposal tonight. You can do whatever you want." Ethan's answer was just 2 words. "Ethan, wait there." Jane turned off the tablet and closed her eyes in pain. She thought she wouldn't care anymore, but seeing these chat logs suddenly felt like being struck hard with a blunt object. Tears slid from the corners of her eyes, scalding hot. She didn't know when she fell asleep, only remembering that her dreams were full of images of a man and a woman entangled. The man's face was Ethan's. Her own phone vibrated. She tapped it open and found it was a video. The scene in the video was exactly the same as the image in her dream. The man and woman were entangled passionately, perhaps even more intensely. Ethan's face was distorted with lust, making her feel incredibly nauseous. Lola Banks. Have you ever seen him like this? He says only with me can he enjoy himself so fully. The short 1-minute video finished playing quickly. Then a new round started. Repeat and repeat again. Jane watched it over and over again, almost masochistically. She wanted to see clearly what Ethan looked like at this moment, to grind away the last shred of love she had for him, and then completely drive him out of her heart. She had already asked Lawyer Miller to draft the divorce agreement. She wiped away her tears, put the divorce agreement into an exquisite gift box, and tied a ribbon around it. Ethan didn't come back until noon the next day, carrying a box of pastries. "Babe, hubby keeps his word. I brought you pastries. Are you happy?" Jane gave a perfunctory MMM. Ethan looked at her red-rimmed eyes, cupped her face, and kissed away the tears on her face. "Why are you crying? Who upset my sweetheart? Tell hubby and I'll get revenge for you." He still carried that musky scent from the affair, mixed with the smell of a woman's cosmetics, making her even more nauseous. Jane pushed his hand away, putting some distance between them. Nothing, I just watched a very touching movie last night. Ethan hugged her with heartache. Don't watch alone in the future. Wait for me to watch with you. Watch with her? He devoted both his days and nights to Lola Banks. Jane suddenly wanted to ask him, do you still have time to spare for me? Ethan pointed to the exquisite gift box on the coffee table and asked in surprise, Janie, is this for me? Jane nodded. Didn't you say you prepared a surprise for me for our 5th anniversary? I have a surprise for you too. Ethan seemed very happy, holding the gift and admiring it. Can I open it and see? Open it on the day of our anniversary, 1 week from now. Ethan thought for a moment, then nodded good-naturedly. Okay, we'll open the surprises for each other then. It will be more meaningful. Jane suddenly really wanted to see Ethan's expression when he learned of her death and then saw the divorce agreement. Surprise, shock, or delight, Ethan coaxed her. I heard there's a good movie out recently. Shall I accompany you to see it? Jane didn't want to go. But the cinema Ethan mentioned was right next to their old high school. That was where Ethan had confessed his love to her for the first time. In their student days, on the street behind the school, they spent countless romantic and sweet moments witnessing the days they loved each other the most. Since they started there, let it end there. When they arrived at the cinema, it was a bit crowded. Ethan half-encircled Jane, protecting her in his arms to prevent her from being jostled by the crowd. In the crowd, several girls recognized them. Oh my, isn't that CEO right? The one he's protecting in his arms must be his wife, right? She's so beautiful. Boo-hoo, how can there be such a good man as CEO right in the world? Handsome and faithful. They really match so well, perfectly matched. Ethan protected her all the way to their seats. He considerately helped her take off her coat and held it in his hand. The cinema manager walked over fawningly, holding a warm water bottle and a cup of hot ginger tea. CEO Wright, I heard Mrs. Wright is having her special days. We've prepared these according to your instructions. Is there anything else you need? Ethan took them. He placed the warm water bottle on her lower abdomen to warm her, then handed her the ginger tea. The temperature is just right, drinkable. Janie, drink a little. Jane accepted his care almost mechanically, not speaking the entire time. Ethan frowned slightly and said to the manager, go prepare some snacks. Not too oily, not too spicy, and not too sweet. Janie doesn't like those. Yes, I'll go right away. The manager trotted away. The movie intro had already started playing on the big screen. Just then, a woman walked up to Jane and whispered, Excuse me, my seat is inside. Please let me pass. The lights in the cinema were already off. Jane didn't react immediately. She just quickly made way for her. Until she saw the woman move past her, then past Ethan, and finally sit down right next to Ethan. Jane suddenly realized that the voice just now was so familiar. She was the girl entangled with Ethan in the video, Lola Banks. The next second, the cola cup in Lola's hand tilted, and a whole cup of cola spilled onto Ethan's lap. Oh my, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. As Lola spoke, she pulled tissues from her bag to wipe him. But as she wiped, the location became wrong. Clearly, it was his lap that was wet, but Lola's hand kept going lower and lower, pressing down mischievously. At the same time, Jane could clearly feel the arm around her shoulder tighten abruptly. Consequently, his whole body began to tense up. Out of the corner of her eye, Jane looked at Ethan's lap. Lola's hand was underneath. Ethan's hand was on top, pressing down firmly on her, his gaze seeming to warn her not to cause trouble. But Lola continued to smile playfully, her hand holding the tissue continuing to wipe with moderate pressure. Sir, how about I compensate you with a new pair of pants? No need. His voice had already become hoarse. The movie started. It was an animated movie, the animals were cute and the plot was funny, but Jane couldn't take in any of it. 10 minutes into the movie, Ethan suddenly stood up. Janie, the manager doesn't know what snacks you like. I'll go take a look. He was still holding her coat. At this moment, the coat was draped over his forearm, covering the changes in his lower body. After Ethan left, Lola also stood up and followed him out. When she passed by Jane, she curled her lips in disdain and glanced at her. That look seemed to say, see, he still chose me. 5 minutes later, Jane received a text message, ladies' restroom. She walked quickly out of the auditorium to the restroom at the end of the hall. From the first stall in the ladies' room came the sound of a man's suppressed groans and a woman's silky pleas for mercy. The woman was undoubtedly Lola. And the man's voice, she was even more familiar with. Jane felt as if she was rooted to the ground, unable to move. The noise in the stall grew louder, and the woman let out a sharp cry. Then came Ethan's sneer. "Can't handle it already. Followed me to the cinema, and this is all the ability you have." Lola whimpered, unsure if she was crying or laughing. "I missed you. I just didn't want to see you with her." Ethan's voice turned slightly cold. "I can agree to anything else, but our affair cannot be brought before Janie. You crossed the line today." Okay, I know, but don't you think it's exciting in a dark environment like a cinema?" Ethan chuckled softly. "It is a bit." "Then tonight. Shall we continue?" Ethan's voice was hoarse beyond recognition. "I'll buy tickets in a bit." "The midnight screening?" "Get the back row, then we won't have to hide in the restroom, we can just do it in the seats." Not far away, the cinema manager hurried over. In his hand were not snacks, but a small square box. He called out softly outside the ladies' room door, "CEO Wright, I bought the condoms for you." The movement inside finally paused for a moment, and Ethan's figure appeared at the door. Jane dodged behind a pillar, her heart beating fast. She heard Ethan chuckle lightly. "Quite fast. Of course, movie time is limited, only 3 hours in total. Can't delay your moment of passion." Ethan's voice sounded satisfied. "Take good care of Janie. Don't let her notice anything strange, understand?" "Rest assured, CEO Wright. Mrs. Wright looks like a very innocent girl. Girls like that are easiest to coax. She'll believe whatever you say." Jane fled the scene almost immediately. Back in her seat in the auditorium, she allowed herself to cry bitterly for a few minutes, then forcibly told herself, "This is the last time. This is the last time she would cry for Ethan." Actually, it wasn't for Ethan, but for the pure boy in her memory whose heart and eyes were filled only with her. The current Ethan was no longer that boy. Since he wasn't, she didn't want him anymore. Ethan returned when the movie was almost over. He still carried that unpleasant musky scent on him. Besides that, he also brought back a box of popcorn. "Janie, sorry I came back late. The cinema's popcorn machine broke. It took a long time to fix. This is freshly made. Eat it while it's hot." Jane waved her hand. "I don't want to eat anymore. Why didn't you drink the ginger tea either? Didn't want to? Okay, then no eating or drinking. Let's watch the movie." Jane sneered. "The movie is almost over. Blame the technician fixing the popcorn machine. It took forever." "So you waited for him to fix it for 3 hours?" Ethan nodded heavily. "Yes, the manager can testify for me. You can ask him if you don't believe me." "No need." Jane picked up her bag and walked away. Ethan chased after her with her coat and popcorn. "Janie, what exactly did I do wrong? Tell me directly and I'll change, okay? Don't ignore me. I'm scared when you do that." "Scared of what?" "Scared that you don't love me anymore." Jane turned around and looked into his eyes. It was clearly he who betrayed their relationship first. It was clearly he who said one thing and did another. It was clearly he who didn't cherish her first. In that case, she would completely retract her heart and her person. She gave the pseudocide agency one of her clothes, tore it to shreds, then bit her finger and smeared blood on it. In a week, he would receive this blood-stained shirt, and she herself would leave him forever. "Janie, why aren't you talking?" Jane exhaled heavily and said flatly, "Just my period, I'm a bit sleepy." "Then I'll take you home to rest." "MMM." On the way home, Ethan kept trying to talk to her, telling her jokes. But Jane just said, "I'm a bit tired, I want to rest." Only then did Ethan shut up. Back home, Ethan walked Jane to the bedroom. Jane asked him, "Are you going to the company to handle business tonight?" Ethan hummed in agreement. "There are some things I didn't finish yesterday. I have to work overtime tonight." "Then go quickly." Jane lay down with her back to him, issuing an eviction order. Ethan stood still. He seemed to sense something was wrong, but he didn't know what it was. Jane suddenly wanted to play a prank. She turned around and said to Ethan, "Can you not go tonight?" Ethan visibly sighed in relief. If Jane still relied on him, still threw little tantrums and acted spoiled, still tried to keep him and clung to him, that meant she hadn't discovered anything. Ethan said gently, "Sweetheart, it's all arranged for tonight. Many executives are waiting for me. Next week I'll definitely clear my schedule to accompany you, okay?" "Next week?" "Yes, isn't next weekend our 5th wedding anniversary? I'm going to hold a grand ceremony to let everyone in the city know that you are the woman I love most in this life." "A grand ceremony?" Jane smiled. That would make it even more exciting. Okay, go then. My Janie is so good. I'm going then, time is almost up, can't keep them waiting. Can't keep them waiting or can't keep her waiting? Ethan left in a hurry. The tablet on the sofa started vibrating again. They were in contact again. Ethan, are you ready? Lola sent a picture. This time, she changed into a nurse's uniform. Of course, it wasn't a proper nurse's uniform. Places that should be exposed were exposed, and places that shouldn't be exposed were also exposed. Ethan, going to wreck you tonight? Jane turned off the tablet and began packing her things. Clothes, bags, shoes, and everything Ethan had given her over the years, until she took out a tin box from the cabinet. Her hand paused slightly. This box contained the love letters Ethan used to write to her. A thick stack. When they first got together, he wrote, "From today on, Janie is the love of my life." On his birthday, he wrote, "My birthday wish is to love my Janie for a lifetime and grow old together in happiness." On Jane's 20th birthday, he wrote, "My Janie has reached legal age. I need to hurry up and marry you." On their wedding day, he wrote, "To the loveliest and most beautiful Princess Janie, welcome to my world." Jane couldn't be bothered to read the rest. She took all the love letters outside and burned them all to ashes. The next morning, she was woken up by the sound of Ethan coming in. He seemed very angry. "Janie, our wedding ring was actually stolen by a beggar and sold to a jewelry store." Jane was somewhat disappointed. How did he find it? And he only sold it for $10,000. It's simply an insult to our ring. He walked over, took Jane's hand, and tried to put the ring back on her. Now, returned to its rightful owner. Jane pulled her hand back, refusing to wear the ring again. Ethan was confused. "Janie, what's wrong?" "Nothing, I just gained a little weight recently. The ring size doesn't fit anymore, I can't put it on." Ethan smiled. "It's okay. Later, I'll take it to the jewelry store and have them resize it." "Suit yourself," Jane asked. "You didn't do anything to that beggar who sold the ring, did you?" Ethan came up and hugged her again. "Don't worry, I know my Janie has a kind heart and can't bear to see beggars suffer. I didn't pursue his responsibility. Give him some more money, he is very pitiful." "Okay, I'll give him another 10,000 later." Just then, Jane's phone rang. She picked it up. "Hello, Miss Sterling. We are from the Pseudoside Company. We have prepared your new identification documents according to your wishes. Do you have time to come and pick them up?" "Okay, send me the address. I will send the location to your phone shortly. By the way, can the new documents be used to purchase plane tickets?" "Rest assured, absolutely." "Okay, thanks." Hanging up the phone, Ethan was suddenly anxious. "Janie, what new documents? And plane tickets? Are you leaving? Where are you going?" Being held by him used to be happiness. Now Jane felt uncomfortable all over. She forcefully broke free from his embrace, walked away, and put a few steps of distance between them. Ethan panicked even more and hurriedly chased after her. "Janie, do you want to travel? Then next week I will definitely cancel all work just to accompany you alone. Don't be angry, don't leave me, okay?" Jane only felt a chill in her heart. Who was the real Ethan Wright? The one begging her not to leave right now, or the one entangled with Lola Banks in the video? She couldn't tell anymore. But it didn't matter. She was going to leave him forever soon. Whether she could tell or not wouldn't make any difference. She said indifferently, "You're overthinking it. Didn't you say there's a ceremony for our wedding anniversary?" Ethan still didn't believe it and kept pestering her. "But what did you say just now about new documents? What documents did you get? You also said you wanted to buy plane tickets." "It's a classmate of mine. She lost her ID and couldn't buy a plane ticket, so she has to get it replaced." "Which classmate? You don't know her?" "I know all your classmates." Jane changed the subject and asked him instead, "Never mind me, what about you? Did you finish your work last night?" "More or less." Before he could finish speaking, the phone rang again. Jane had become somewhat accustomed to Lola's behavior of calling him away at every turn. Anyway, no matter what, Ethan would definitely leave. She simply walked away and sat on the sofa waiting. She heard Ethan scolding in a low voice. "Didn't I say, I'm at home now, don't call me?" From the other end of the phone came the sound of a woman crying softly. He glanced cautiously at Jane and licked his lips guiltily. "All right, I'm coming over now." Hanging up the phone, Ethan spoke with some difficulty. "Janie, the company? There was a slight problem left over from last night. I have to rush over now." Jane nodded directly. "Go ahead." There's a lot of work recently, I understand. Ethan left hurriedly again. Jane held her phone in her hand. She waited to see what kind of explosive video Lola would send this time. As she expected, Lola's message came quickly. This time, it was a picture. A hospital examination report. It read, Patient, Lola Banks, pregnant 4 weeks, threatened miscarriage. Lola Banks, we played too hard in the cinema last night. The baby is at risk of miscarriage. The hospital said the baby's father needs to be present to sign. Sorry, Mrs. Right, your husband belongs to me again today. Lola was pregnant. Jane clutched her phone, looking at the pregnancy report on it, unable to recover for a long time. Lola Banks. Forgot to tell you, he belongs to me for the next week too. He promised to accompany me to Hawaii for a vacation to celebrate us having a baby. Lola Banks, he's going out to call you now. Be prepared, Mrs. Wright. She said the words Mrs. Wright with a provocative tone. Almost simultaneously, Jane's phone rang. The word hubby flashed on the screen. She took a deep breath and answered. Janie, I'm sorry. Something temporary came up at the company that requires a business trip. Before he could finish, Jane interrupted him directly. Go ahead. Ethan was still apologizing. Janie, don't worry. I will definitely come back for our 5th anniversary. And the wedding ring that symbolizes our love, I will put it on you again with my own hands at the ceremony. Ethan, do you love me? Of course you are the only woman I love in this life, Jane said. If one day you betray our love, I will leave you forever. Ethan scoffed as if he had heard a joke. I won't let you have that chance. I'm serious. I'm not joking. If I find out, you won't be able to find me for the rest of your life. As long as you are Jane Sterling, no matter if you run to the ends of the earth, I will find you. Really? What if I'm not Jane Sterling anymore? Ethan's smile grew wider, lazy and doting as if teasing a cat. How could you not be Jane Sterling? All right, Janie, stop thinking nonsense. I really only love you in this life. I will definitely come back to accompany you in a week. 10 minutes later, the pseudocide company sent her an address. When Jane arrived, the person handed her a stack of documents. Miss Sterling, from today on, this is your new identity. Jane looked through them. Her new name was Lyra Vance. Lyra Vance, Vance. Implies distance. She was going to leave Ethan forever. She chose this name for herself. In the future, in this world, there would be no Jane Sterling, only Lyra Vance. Jane, oh no, Miss Vance, we have also bought the plane ticket for you. It departs next Saturday at 10 a.m., flying to Iceland. Jane put away all the documents and nodded in thanks. Thank you. I will transfer all the commission to your company's account shortly. Miss Vance, there is still 1 week left. You can think about it again. If you regret it, we won't charge any fees. No, Jane stood up, her tone firm. I won't regret it. Over the next few days, messages from Ethan and Lola kept coming. 3 days before the wedding anniversary, Lola Banks. The sea breeze in Hawaii is so comfortable, the seafood is delicious too. But he said I can't eat seafood because I'm pregnant. So he ran a long way specifically to buy me Chinese food. Attached was a picture of a Hawaiian beach scene. Sand, coconut groves, and not far away, Ethan opening a takeout box. Ethan, there are so few Chinese restaurants here, I ran a long way to buy it. Janie, what did you eat today? Jane gathered with close friends today. Barbecue, hot pot, they ate happily. After all, she was leaving with a new identity. It would be hard to meet again in the future. She still wanted to see them one last time. 2 days before the wedding anniversary, Lola Banks. The baby is only a month old, and he's already studying early education. He's being very competent as a new father. Attached was a picture of Ethan's desk with a thick stack of books on it. Jane glanced at it roughly. The titles were all Prenatal Education Guide, Wisdom of Early Education, Pros and Cons of Breastfeeding. Ethan, Janie, I've been reading books all day. I learned quite a lot. What about you? What did you do today? Jane went to the bank today. She exchanged all the balance on her card into euros, withdrew cash, and canceled all bank cards under the name Jane Sterling. 1 day before the wedding anniversary, Lola Banks. He felt sorry that I'm carrying the baby and didn't want the hotel staff to touch my clothes, so he's washing my clothes by hand himself. Look, attached was a photo of Ethan busy in the laundry room. Ethan, it turns out doing laundry is so tiring. Better to hire a maid in the future. I can't bear for my Janie to work so hard. Jane smiled. Married for 5 years, she had hand-washed all his intimate apparel. And now, he ran off to wash clothes for another woman. How ironic. Just then, people from the charity organization arrived. Jane washed her old clothes, packed them up, and handed them all over to the charity workers. After returning, looking at the house that was more than half empty, Jane felt lighter than ever before. It turned out that a heart dies in an instant. Once love is gone, one becomes very free. The night before the wedding anniversary, Jane went to the mountaintop alone. The howling mountain wind blew on her, but she didn't feel cold. She only felt that in the vast night sky, the stars were dotting the darkness, the moon was curved, and it was beautiful. When she received Ethan's call, it was already night. His voice sounded happy. "Janie, I've got off the plane and will be home soon. I'll bring you pastries when I get back, okay?" "I'm not home. It's so late, where did you go?" "Mountaintop. What are you doing at the mountaintop?" "Watching the stars." "Then wait for me, I'll come over right now." From the other end of the phone came a sudden burst of noise. It sounded like a woman speaking. Ethan scolded in a low voice. The woman seemed relentless. Ethan didn't speak for a long while. Then, she heard what sounded like a man and a woman kissing. Smacking sounds, Jane sneered. "Ethan, are you still coming?" Ethan's voice was hoarse and panting. "Janie, starting tomorrow, I'll be with you constantly. Tonight I have to rush to the company to explain upcoming matters so I can focus on accompanying you later, okay?" Jane smiled. "Okay, my Janie is so sensible. Then I'll see you directly at the ceremony venue tomorrow morning. By the way, remember to bring the gift you got for me. I'm really looking forward to seeing what surprise you prepared." "Ethan," Jane called him for the last time. "What is it?" "Nothing. Nothing anymore. In the future, there would be no Jane Sterling in this world." After coming down the mountain, she hailed a taxi. "Hello to the airport." Seeing she was alone, the driver asked with concern, "Miss, where is your luggage?" "I can help you carry it." "I have no luggage. Drive." The only things she had on her were a passport and a plane ticket. Aside from that, everything related to the name Jane Sterling had been donated, burned, or disposed of. Half an hour later, the car stopped at the airport entrance. Jane scanned the code and transferred all the money in her phone to the driver. The driver was flustered. "Miss, you transferred the wrong amount. It's $30, not $30,000. Let me transfer it back." "No need. Thank you for driving me." Getting out of the car, Jane took out the SIM card, snapped it, and threw it along with the phone directly into the trash can. Then, without looking back, she entered the terminal. Meanwhile, on the other side of the airport, Ethan's car was parked by the roadside. The windows were tinted, so people outside couldn't see inside at all. However, the frequency of the car's shaking became faster and faster, and the magnitude more violent. Lola leaned coyly against Ethan, pursing her lips and trying to act spoiled. "Are you really going to hold that 5th wedding anniversary celebration with her tomorrow? I can't bear to leave you. Can't you stay with me and the baby a little longer?" Ethan pinched her cheek and said perfunctorily, "Be good. Didn't you have your eye on a bag last time? I'll transfer the money to you. Buy it yourself." Lola's eyes lit up. "You can't lie to me. When have I ever lied to you?" Listening to her voice, Ethan suddenly felt it was very noisy. To buy some peace and quiet, he immediately picked up his phone and transferred the money, marking it as a voluntary gift as she requested. Lola immediately gave him a tighter hug and kissed his cheek. "Master, I knew you spoiled me the most." Ethan accepted her flattery, smiling perfunctorily. Although he wasn't emotionally invested in Lola, he liked her youth and beauty. Moreover, she always followed his wishes and looked at him with admiration, simply like a flower that understands speech. Whenever he felt tired, he could get a steady stream of emotional value from her, but today seemed a bit different. Probably because half a year was enough to make people bored. Ethan pushed away Lola's hand, trying to climb onto his shoulder, and loosened the tie she had pulled. But the sinking feeling surging from the bottom of his heart didn't disappear. Instead, it pressed on his chest, making it ache in waves. It was as if something very important had been stripped from his flesh and blood. Ethan picked up the car keys and walked out, throwing back a sentence without looking back. "I'm going home for a bit." Lola's goal was Mrs. Right, not a few bags. She quickly followed, hugging his waist from behind, her hands tightly grasping the hem of his clothes, refusing to relax even slightly. Ethan's chest was feeling tight. How could he stand this? He said grumpily, "Let go." No. Lola knew that being with him relied on the submissive charm he couldn't get from Jane. Her fingertips slid all the way down his shirt to his belt, tapping it as she complained, "After tomorrow, you'll have lots of time to accompany her. Accompany me today." Seeing Ethan didn't make a sound, she thought this trick worked and said even more willfully, "Thinking of you being with another woman makes me incredibly jealous. I don't want to give you up to her." Her response was a cold laugh. In the past, when Ethan heard similar words, he would feel love and pity for Lola, doubling the money he threw at her as compensation. But today, with her dragging Jane into it, the situation was different. He flung Lola's hand away forcefully, then turned around, looking at her sternly. "She is not another woman. She is my wife. It's not your place to gossip about her." Jane was his soft spot and his forbidden zone. Lola sheepishly retracted her hand, whispering unhappily, "I didn't say anything bad about her. Is being jealous not allowed? You weren't this cold and heartless before." "Enough," he emphasized with annoyance turned to anger. "Since you forgot, I'll say it again. I hope you figure out your current status. Jane Sterling is my wife, and even more, my true love. No matter what happens, my feelings for her won't change." Using these words at this critical juncture was truly ironic to the extreme. Lola cursed him in her heart for being a hypocrite and setting up a false front, but she showed nothing on her face, simply saying pitifully, "I know." Ethan acknowledged, turned around, and left without hesitation. From start to finish, he didn't look closely at her reaction because he simply didn't feel the need to care about her mood. If he was bored, spending some money could dismiss her. Just preventing her from making a scene in front of Jane was enough. Ethan didn't know that Lola didn't stay idle standing alone on the spot. Confirming he had left the office, she immediately took out her phone and started editing a message. "Mrs. Wright, I've thought about it carefully. Since I'm pregnant now, I can't do it too frequently anyway. I'll let you have him for these few days, leaving you a little something to remember. After all, at your age, if you leave him, I'm afraid you'll never meet a man willing to marry you again." Lola didn't forget to attach the screenshot of the transfer Ethan just made to her, then added, "Seeing as he bought me a gift to coax me, I'll yield him to you for one day." After sending the message, she didn't forget to delete the record from her own phone. On the other side, Ethan drove as fast as possible while ensuring safety. Perhaps because he hadn't been back here for a while, standing outside the gate, he suddenly felt a wave of panic for no reason. This was the home he shared with Jane, though mostly she managed it. She kept everything in perfect order. There were maids and servants in the villa, but she would still tend to the flowers and plants personally and installed a light on the roof terrace. She said she installed it specifically for him. When he came home from work at night, he could always see a light shining for him at home. Ethan pushed the door open, finding the atmosphere at home as warm and peaceful as before. Looking at the flower garden, he involuntarily imagined Jane cutting a few dewy roses and bringing them into the living room to arrange in a vase. Truly unspeakably peaceful. Ethan walked softly through the foyer, wanting to give Jane a surprise, but he couldn't find her anywhere on the first floor. He frowned and asked a servant who was working methodically, "Where is Mrs. Wright?" The servants immediately stopped their work, looking at each other for a good while. Ethan grew impatient. "Where did Janie go?" "We don't know either. The madam seemed to go out in the afternoon, saying she was going to the mountaintop to watch stars." Ethan instantly felt angry. What time is it now? You don't even know if she came home or not. Unable to feign ignorance anymore, the other party had to bite the bullet and say, "It was the madam who said we didn't need to wait for her, told us to rest after finishing our work." Others nodded in unison. It seemed they really didn't know Jane's whereabouts. Ethan immediately felt dissatisfied with the servants at home, wishing he could fire a batch of unconscientious workers right away. But intent on seeing Jane to discuss how to spend the anniversary tomorrow, he quickened his steps upstairs, heading straight for the bedroom. "Janie!" He shouted her name excitedly as he pushed open the door, but only an empty room greeted his eyes. There was no one in the room. The draft blew through, and only the sheer curtains by the floor-to-ceiling window fluttered in the wind, making a rustling sound as they brushed against the glass edge. Ethan's heart tightened. Just when he was most confused, he caught a glimpse of something extra on the bedside table out of the corner of his eye. An exquisite box. Wasn't this the 5th anniversary gift Jane prepared for him? Ethan walked over full of confusion, only to discover an envelope pressed under the box. After seeing the signature on it, his heart trembled violently, and an ominous premonition occupied his entire heart. This was something Jane left for him. They were husband and wife, possessing each other's phone numbers and WhatsApp. If there was something to tell, there were plenty of faster ways. What matter required such caution to use such a retro method? It was probably the surprise Jane gave him. Yes, it must be so. Harboring this thought, Ethan picked up the envelope with hands that had started trembling unbeknownst to him. Inside was only a thin sheet of letter paper, with content so brief it could be seen at a glance when unfolded. Jane's handwriting was as elegant and neat as always, clearly leaving these few paragraphs in a calm state of mind. Ethan, I don't know when you will get this letter. It actually doesn't matter if you see it or not, because I have already left your world. I know about you and Lola Banks. I also said that if you betrayed me, I would disappear forever. Soon, you will know that I keep my word. Jane knew about him and Lola. How could she know? Clearly, he had kept it hidden so well all along, and Lola had also agreed to keep her mouth shut. Which link went wrong? At this moment, Ethan's phone rang. Hello, is this Mr. Ethan Wright? We are detectives from the Criminal Investigation Division. Someone found your wife's blood-stained clothes in the valley. We suspect your wife is extremely likely to have fallen from the mountaintop and died. Please come to the police station to identify the deceased's belongings. This is impossible. This is impossible. Janie is afraid of heights. She couldn't have fallen from the mountaintop. She would be very careful. You must be lying to me. Janie must be playing hide and seek with me. She's just angry. She's angry that I haven't accompanied her properly recently. She must still be hiding somewhere, waiting for me to find her. Janie, where are you? I'm coming to find you. He felt the sky spinning and the earth rotating as if the whole world collapsed with Jane's departure. Ethan rushed out of the bedroom, first opening all the nearby rooms to check, then running downstairs like a madman, searching room by room. But her figure was nowhere. Not only her, but her clothes, shoes, bags, water cup, towel, toothbrush, all were gone. It was as if Jane had never lived in this house. Ethan suddenly felt a huge panic. Unprecedented fear engulfed him. In that letter, Jane told him that if he betrayed their feelings, she would disappear forever. Did the disappearance she mentioned mean death? Rationally, Ethan knew Jane couldn't still be at home, but emotionally he couldn't accept this fact. Impossible, Janie wouldn't leave me behind. He ran around the villa like a headless fly, driven by unseen forces to the two places she used to like staying the most. Jane tended the flower garden in the backyard personally. Even a daisy growing on the edge was carefully nurtured by her. In summer, she would set up a camera here and wait half a day just to capture the moment a butterfly landed. It was currently the season for roses to bloom, but the person who carefully tended them was missing. There were only servants watering and fertilizing mechanically. Ethan felt sudden, wrenching heart pain, unable to appreciate the beautiful scenery before him anymore. He went back into the building, briskly climbing to the roof, hoping Jane was just angry with him, so she hid on the terrace to prank and scare him. But the terrace was empty, with only the swing they had rocked on together hanging quietly on the frame. Ethan sat on it with infinite nostalgia. He couldn't remember when the last time he sat here was, but he vaguely remembered that Jane snuggled in his arms then. They looked up at the stars, chatting idly until they fell asleep leaning against each other. Such a good life was ruined by his own hands, just for some dispensable beauty and the vanity of his laughable machismo. With extreme guilt, Ethan picked up his phone and urgently dialed Jane's number. After a long busy tone, there was an emotionless artificial prompt. Sorry, the subscriber you dialed is powered off. He hung up and called again, but the result was the same. Jane didn't hang up on him, she really turned off her phone. He tried to send her a WhatsApp message, but the only response was a red exclamation mark in the message bar. He was deleted and blocked. He couldn't even send a friend request. Helpless, Ethan scrolled through his long contact list, finally distinguishing the number of a mutual friend of his and Jane's. They were classmates, once extremely familiar with each other's social circles. But old friends are bound to drift apart eventually. Since Ethan became CEO, right, business entertainment became increasingly busy, and he truly hadn't contacted friends outside the business circle for a long time. He bit the bullet and dialed Jane's best friend's number, asking right off the bat, "Is Janie with you right now?" The anxiety in his voice was obvious. The friend replied with an unfriendly tone, "Jane is your wife. If you need her, shouldn't you call her directly?" Ethan had no face to explain the reason, only asking again, "Then did she mention any travel plans? Or show any unusual behavior when gathering with you recently? So you actually know she has times when she's unusual." The friend couldn't stop sneering on the other end of the line. "CEO, right? Let me give you a piece of advice. If you don't want people to know, don't do it." Ethan's head exploded with a boom. He heard himself ask with a trembling voice, "Janie, when did she find out? Please tell her, that was all acting on occasion. I only have her in my heart." The friend interrupted his sophistry. "You know best what ugly things you did yourself." The call was hung up right there. Ethan redialed unwillingly. After a few busy tones, it was replaced by the artificial prompt, "He was blocked." He had no choice but to desperately call others, even those he had only exchanged numbers with and spoken a few sentences to. Some answered, some didn't, but the results were the same. His heart sank to the bottom again and again. The questions some people asked back left him speechless. "Sorry, I don't know where Jane went. She hasn't contacted me for a long time. You couple had such a good relationship before. Did you quarrel? Jane has such a gentle temper, it shouldn't be. Did you make her angry? Take my advice, bow your head and apologize to her first." Ethan admitted he was wrong but truly had no face to speak of the mistake he made. He mumbled a few sentences and hung up. "Thank you, I know." This was the last call he could think of connected to Jane. As time passed minute by minute, the last shred of hope Ethan clung to was also shattered. He sat on the swing, maintaining the hunched posture of making phone calls for too long. As soon as he moved, he felt his wrist ache, and the hand holding the phone trembled uncontrollably. Clatter. He watched helplessly as the phone fell beside the night-light Jane installed on the terrace. His breath hitched, then his vision slowly blurred. He could no longer suppress the sorrow in his heart and cried out loud in pain. Janie really didn't want him anymore. She left him and everything from the past behind. Ethan's heart was in a trance, his mind full of chaotic memories. Scenes of him and Jane exchanging rings at the wedding, scenes of him getting into bed with Lola, lying to her on the phone to go out and fool around. Everything, one by one, forced him to the brink of madness. Fortunately, another more important matter temporarily pulled Ethan out of his mental dead end. He suddenly remembered something. Money. Even if Janie didn't want to see him, hid, or went traveling, she would definitely need money. Ethan dared not think deeply. He hurriedly picked up the phone, logged into online banking, and regardless of limits, transferred money to her account continuously, pouring huge sums into it. Jane didn't have much interest in money. Him doing this couldn't win her back at all, but at least it could make her life outside better. Perhaps she would occasionally think of him when seeing the remittance information, but the fantasy was quickly punctured by a call from bank staff. "Mr. Right, we regret to inform you that because the user's account information was formally canceled 2 days ago, your transfer request cannot be completed. Please verify before operating." Ethan froze on the spot. "Can you help me contact her? I have a very important matter to find her." The staff answered officially, "Sorry, this is beyond our scope of work." Ethan knew he couldn't influence the bank's security system, nor did he have the ability to persuade them to take risks for him. After hanging up the phone dejectedly, he had to think of ways from other aspects. He remembered Jane registered a social account named Silhouette and often shared her photography works there. It was just that times had changed, and he couldn't recall exactly which platform it was on. Ethan didn't have the habit of using social platforms, but he opened the App Store, downloaded every top-ranked app, and tirelessly searched for Silhouette inside. But the account hadn't been used for a long time. Below were all messages from strangers. "Can anyone contact Silhouette? I'm an illustrator wanting to reference her photography works, but I can't find her anywhere. Why is Silhouette's account canceled? Begging teacher Silhouette to come back." That set of 4-season series is so beautiful. It's almost winter. Where is the person? Ethan clicked exit with an upset mind. The ruthless fact lay before him. Jane not only canceled her bank cards, but also erase the traces she left on social platforms. He had no choice but to find a platform with imperfect user rules and called customer service. The customer service's wording was polite and formulaic. "Is there anything I can help you with?" Ethan went straight to the point. "I am user Silhouette's husband. Please help restore her account information." The customer service stated without hesitation, "Okay, please let her contact us personally and provide relevant identity proof. She's missing." "Sorry, we cannot violate user privacy, please. Can't you understand? She's missing," Ethan exploded. "My wife is missing and very likely in life-threatening danger. As a platform, if something really happens to her, you will be responsible. I will sue you," he threatened hysterically. The customer service remained unmoved. "Sorry, sir, we cannot help you. If you want to obtain the user's relevant information, you can apply to the court." The tone was polite, but left no room for negotiation. Ethan felt like he was poured over by a basin of bone-chilling ice water in winter. He yielded and stated, "I beg you, my wife is really in danger right now. Do you have no compassion at all?" The other party fell silent on the receiver. Before long, the trembling in Ethan's voice turned into sobbing. He was practically begging the other party. "I can't wait anymore. My wife didn't leave any instructions when she left. I'm really afraid she will have an accident. This account is my last hope." Speaking to the emotional point, he was truly sobbing uncontrollably, regretting everything deeply. Perhaps moved by his persistence and heart for his wife, the customer service relented. "Okay, sir, I will submit an application to my superior, but the specific restoration situation depends on the final result." Ethan thanked profusely on the phone. After a tormented wait, he finally got his wish and saw the hidden information in the Silhouette account. Jane used her social account as a platform to record life, posting many photos and daily texts in great detail. There were sweet moments after falling in love with him, warm moments after they entered the marriage hall, and photos of his back she took secretly. Ethan's heart softened as if a piece collapsed. Looking at the photos and texts on the phone, it was like walking through the beautiful journey they spent together again. But all this came to an abrupt halt half a year ago. Jane only logged into the account for the last time last night. After changing her mood status to forget it, she provided a cancellation application to manual customer service. What did forget it mean? Did she finally despair of him? Ethan felt like his soul was sucked away. He sat on the swing until dark before returning to the bedroom. He chose to lie in the spot where Jane usually slept, wanting to feel her body temperature this way, but within reach was only cold bed sheets. A lonely night was truly hard to sleep through. In despair, a thought suddenly flashed through Ethan's mind. She also left him a surprise gift. Perhaps she wanted him to find her on the wedding anniversary. The hour hand on the wall clock just crossed 0 at this time. It was now a new day, and also their 5th wedding anniversary. Ethan sat up, opening the box on the bedside table as fast as he could. Then he was struck by lightning. It was actually a divorce agreement. In an instant, fear, despair, and helplessness surged into his heart like a tide, forcing him to dress and get out of bed, rushing out of the villa at maximum speed, and driving straight to the nearest police station. The officer on duty was startled by the person suddenly rushing in front of him. "Sir, speak slowly if you have something." Ethan ran in 3 steps at a time. He said hoarsely, "I want to report a case. My wife is missing. She left no information before leaving, and I can't contact her anywhere." Hearing someone was missing, the police immediately asked him about the specific time and location. He paused, hesitating. She should have left from home, then went to the mountaintop to watch stars. As for the specific time, perhaps it was last night. Not a single thing could be explained clearly. The policeman wondered, "Is your relationship with your wife so distant?" Ethan smiled bitterly. "Our relationship has always been very good, just. I've been busy with work recently, and there were some misunderstandings, so I didn't come home as frequently as before." The police didn't ask further, only finding colleagues to locate the places where Jane's phone signal appeared based on the phone number and other clues he provided. Ethan waited like years passing in seconds until the completely dark sky gradually brightened, yet he still didn't wait for news related to her. Instead, a strange call came in. Ethan picked up hurriedly. "Is it Janie?" "Mr. Wright, we are police officers from the Misty Mountain District." When can you come to the police station to claim Miss Jane Sterling's belongings? Ethan had evaded all night just to evade this result. He would rather believe Jane was sulking with him, hiding, missing. This call was just a prank, but the urging call from the police station shattered his last fantasy. My wife, her body, is it in your police station? The other party said. Sorry, Mr. Wright, there are many wild animals around Misty Mountain. We have organized police forces to search, but couldn't find your wife's body. Only a blood-stained, shredded shirt. We guess, possibly her remains have been devoured by wild animals. Don't say any more. Mr. Wright, it is difficult to survive falling from the mountaintop, let alone wild beasts. Please restrain your grief. I said don't say any more. He hung up the phone in exasperation and blocked that number. But soon, a new number called in. Ethan couldn't suppress the madness inside, cursing directly. My wife can't be dead, impossible, I will find her. Stop calling me. Opposite was a calm, composed voice. Hello, Mr. Wright. I am Miss Jane Sterling's lawyer, Mr. Miller. She has some words she wants to convey to you through me. Do you have time to meet? Janie has words to tell me? Yes. Okay, I'm coming right away. Ethan drove to the agreed law firm without a second word. Anxious all the way, running who knows how many red lights, disregarding traffic rules and his own safety. Mr. Miller invited him into the office and politely handed him a document, saying, This is the divorce agreement Miss Sterling asked me to give you. She has already signed this copy in advance. Ethan opened his eyes wide, looking incredulously at the divorce agreement before him and asking back, Where is she? Even if we divorce, I have to hear her say it to me personally. He didn't believe she could be heartless to this extent. The lawyer said flatly, Miss Sterling has entrusted all relevant matters to me entirely. If you have opinions on the agreement, just tell me. Ethan took the divorce agreement, his whole person trembling slightly as he said, I won't agree to divorce. Absolutely impossible. The next second, he tore the agreement into pieces and threw it into the trash can. Seeing this, the corners of the lawyer's mouth rose slightly, revealing a knowing smile. He said unhurriedly, Mr. Wright, Miss Sterling anticipated you would tear up the first divorce agreement, so she specifically instructed me to prepare a few more copies. By the way, she also took a copy with her. She should have brought it home. Didn't you see it? He saw it. That divorce agreement was inside the gift she carefully prepared. She said that was the surprise she gave him. Janie, had you planned to leave me long ago? Speaking, the lawyer took out another new copy from the desk behind him and handed it over. Seeing Ethan with a gloomy face about to tear it again, he added calmly, As long as you don't mind the effort, you can tear as many as you want. I have a printer here and can print new agreements anytime. Please help yourself. Ethan instantly wilted like a frosted eggplant. He ruffled his hair irritably and softened his attitude. Sorry, I was emotional just now, but I really can't live without her. Can you please tell me, did she actually go to the mountaintop? The lawyer shook his head. Sorry, I am only responsible for handling the divorce. I don't know other things. Ethan grasped the only hope. She still wants to divorce me, meaning she isn't dead at all, right? If dead, she wouldn't make the unnecessary move to divorce me, right? The lawyer just laughed dryly. There's no necessary connection between the two, right? If you broke Miss Sterling's heart, even if she dies, she wouldn't want to die bearing the title of Mrs. Wright, right? Ethan laughed self-deprecatingly once, feeling weak all over as he leaned back on the sofa on the side. The divorce agreement in his hand fell to the ground with his movement. He had no intention of picking it up. The lawyer didn't care either, calmly taking another divorce agreement and handing it over. Sign it. Consider it fulfilling Miss Sterling's last wish before death, giving her freedom. Saying so, he handed over a pen, indicating Ethan could sign. Ethan sneered. No matter how many copies you print, I won't sign unless Janie comes to talk to me personally. Our feelings of so many years are not decided by a few thin sheets of paper, whether dead or alive. Janie can only be my wife. The lawyer began to explain the law to him, fully prepared. Mr. Wright, as long as the couple has been separated for more than 2 years, the court can grant a divorce automatically. Even if Miss Sterling isn't dead, as long as you can't find her within 2 years, you will still be divorced 2 years later. Ethan was half a public figure. If the divorce caused a scandal, it would inevitably affect the company's stock price. But he couldn't care less. It doesn't matter. Let her sue me. At least she will come to court to see me then, right? Mr. Right, Miss Sterling is determined. She will divorce you no matter what. Even if you are unwilling to sign now, it's just waiting 2 more years at most. The result won't change. Why bother? Ethan remained unmoved, saying stubbornly, "It doesn't matter. I will definitely find Janie within these 2 years." Before the lawyer could speak again, he received a call from the police. "Mr. Wright, we have successfully located the last position of your wife's phone signal. Please come over as soon as possible if convenient." The divorce agreement was immediately thrown to the back of his mind. Ethan hadn't slept all night and experienced great emotional ups and downs. Just getting up, his vision went black. But he didn't dare delay. Confirming he could drive, he immediately rushed to the address sent by the police at maximum speed. He thought the police finally found Jane's whereabouts, but arriving at the destination, he was greatly disappointed. Appearing before his eyes was a large expanse of unusually empty wasteland. Apart from weeds swaying in the wind and garbage all over the ground, there wasn't a soul in sight, not even a broken house to hide a person. Ethan went to the police car, asking anxiously, "Are you sure Janie came here? A landfill?" The policeman stepped forward, handing him the phone inside an evidence bag. "Mr. Wright, very sorry. We currently only found this phone at the scene. It might have been transported here to be buried from other trash cans. As for Miss Sterling herself, no trace has been found yet. The phone has automatically shut down due to battery depletion." Ethan recognized at a glance that this was Jane's phone, nearly fainting on the spot. The policeman supported him in time. "Mr. Wright, how are you? Need to call an ambulance." "No need." How dared Ethan faint? He forced himself to hold on, then asked everyone in sight tirelessly, "Excuse me, who brought a power bank?" He wanted to turn on Jane's phone to see if she had left any words for him. People around looked at each other, shaking heads one after another to express inability to help. Just as he was about to lose heart, a kind policewoman silently walked to his side and handed over a power bank. "Try this. The charging cable might work." "Thank you, really thank you so much." Ethan was so excited he nearly shed tears. He prayed silently to heaven in his heart that there must be clues related to Jane this time. But heaven played a big joke on him. Apart from missed calls from him and the bank to Jane, the phone contained unread messages from Lola Banks. Lola didn't know where she got Jane's number. She sent messages tirelessly, the latest one being just yesterday morning. Indescribable emotions surged in Ethan's heart. Enduring the urge to vomit, he scrolled up one by one. "Mrs. Right, you must also know, Ethan only feels responsibility toward you now. Otherwise, how could he fall in love with me? A woman loved by no one is truly pitiful. Look, this is the necklace he personally designed for me. The diamond is even bigger than your wedding ring. Today is my birthday. He must have lied to you again that he's meeting clients, right? Actually, I was right beside him when he called you." Interspersed among these messages were many photos, including quite a few indecent photos of the two lying in bed together. Ethan instantly felt cold all over. He had always regarded Lola as a vain woman who could be dismissed with some money. He didn't expect her scheming and methods to be far deeper than he thought. Despondent, he returned the power bank to the policewoman, then sat back in the car and called Lola. "No matter where you are, go to my house immediately." He didn't want to see her again. Everything related to their relationship made him feel incredibly nauseous. Lola vaguely guessed the reason for Ethan's abnormal emotions. Ecstatic, she dressed up meticulously and went to the villa. This was her first time entering the house. She flitted through the room like a butterfly, even walking directly into the cloakroom to pick and choose. When Ethan returned home, the first thing he saw was Lola standing on the stairs commanding the servants. She adapted to the hostess role in advance, ordering others around arrogantly. "Don't keep any of the photo frames hanging on the wall. Who wants those cheap photos? Buy some expensive ones from the gallery another day and hang them. The flowers and plants in the yard must be selected too. This is a villa, not a countryside compound. What do daisies and roses look like? People who don't know might think this family has no money. Go airlift some fresh flowers to display, change them when they wither." Ouch, Lola was so focused on nitpicking that she forgot to look down. After tripping on the carpet, she immediately added, "And this damn carpet, Change it immediately too. The servants were ordered around in circles by her, not knowing which one to do first for a moment, until Ethan stopped and ordered, "All right, you guys go down first." "Yes, sir." "Then regarding this lady's orders just now, should we follow them? Can't you tell who is the master of this house?" Ethan was the true master of this house. The servants knew very clearly who they could offend, who couldn't be offended. Immediately following his order, they scattered. At least they didn't stay in the living room. Seeing his unkind expression, Lola assumed it was because Jane left and he couldn't accept it for a moment. She walked quickly to his side, hooking his arm with a coquettish expression. "I came over with just one call from you. Why don't you even have a smile? Don't be unhappy, you have me accompanying you." Along with her voice, the robe with the purposely loosened belt slowly slid down her shoulder, just exposing the bra strap she carefully selected. The robe was just an appetizer. The clothes inside were the main course. Lola knew very well why Ethan liked her. Exercising her advantage, she reached out to hook the hem of his shirt. "There are no others here anymore. You can do whatever you want. I can make you happy." These words sounded simply ironic to the extreme to Ethan right now. Jane had abandoned him. What happiness did he have to speak of? He looked coldly at Lola and questioned, "What are you wearing?" Lola smiled smugly. "You recognized it? I found the nightgown in the cloakroom. How is it? Exciting, right?" This was Jane's nightgown. Having an affair with her husband was exciting just thinking about it. But Ethan simply ripped the nightgown off her, without a word. This was the style Jane liked: plain colors, simple design but slightly modified by Lola's so-called ingenuity. It immediately became incredibly vulgar. Ethan only felt it was an eyesore. Pulled by his action, Lola nearly stumbled. However, facing his inexplicable anger, she had a unique coping method. She simply fell forward with the momentum, throwing herself into his arms. This scantily clad appearance was pathetic and pitiful. She didn't believe he would have no reaction. She had hooked him by throwing herself at him back then. Usually acting sanctimonious, never leaving the wedding ring, didn't he also fail to control himself when rolling into bed with her? But the situation this time seemed a bit different. Ethan, facing Lola who looked shy and tried to seduce him this way, only felt repulsed. He pushed her away, unable to hide his anger anymore as he questioned, "Speak, why did you send those obscene messages to Janie?" Lola's heart thumped. She didn't expect the incident to be exposed so soon. She feigned bewilderment. "What messages? I don't understand what you're saying." She didn't expect to hide it forever either. But given Jane's gentle nature, shouldn't she leave silently and yield her position directly? Ethan returned her a sneer. "Things have come to this. Do you still want to lie? I told you long ago, as long as you know your place, I would absolutely give enough of what you want. How dare you go harass her?" He got angrier as he spoke. Finally, even his upright, handsome face became ferocious. This was the first time Lola saw him so terrifying. The blood instantly drained from her face. Her lips moved as she said, "Listen to me, it's a misunderstanding. I can explain. Survive this hurdle first, and everything following would be easy to discuss." But how could Ethan give Lola a chance to defend herself? He directly picked up Jane's phone, raised his hand to light up the screen, forcing her to see those messages clearly. "Are you trying to say these things were photographed by your phone itself and then sent to her?" He spoke while scrolling up slowly, blocking Lola into silence, lest she say words that made him furious. Lola's first reaction was to grab the phone back. But he was prepared, taking the phone back to his side directly, then pressing step by step. "I've read all the messages you sent. Starting half a year ago, you sent her one every few days. What were your intentions?" No wonder Jane stopped updating her account on the social platform half a year ago. She must have suddenly realized that the feelings of many years were just a joke, so what if it went from school uniforms to wedding dresses? It was just wasting a few more years of each other's time. Seeing the evidence was solid, Lola didn't dare anger Ethan further. Instead, she quickly blinked out a few tears, sobbing and crying. "I was wrong. I was really wrong. Just forgive me this once, okay? I just loved you too much." Ethan looked at her with a face full of disgust. "Whether you loved me too much or loved the title of Mrs. Right too much, you know clearly in your heart." Lola disguised herself seamlessly in front of him all along. He thought she was just shallow and stupid, and never thought to understand her thoughts more. He didn't expect her true face to be so hateful. He felt the world spinning, feeling the taste he once took pride in was just a joke. Seeing this, Lola hurriedly stepped forward to support him enthusiastically, explaining urgently, "Just forgive me this once, she has already left. In the future, the person accompanying you is only me?" Ethan was attacked by anger, his brain buzzing. He couldn't even hear her voice clearly, only seeing her lips opening and closing, saying explanations he knew were pale and powerless without listening. Enough! He had no patience for her anymore. Raising his hand to point toward the gate, he gritted his teeth and squeezed out a sentence. "Get out immediately. From now on, I never want to see your face again." Lola was thrown away forcefully by him. After falling to the ground, she had no intention of getting up. Instead, she grabbed the edge of the carpet she wanted someone to replace just now, pretending to be pitiful and crying. "I won't go. Don't forget, you called me here today." Ethan had already turned around without looking back, leaving only a sentence. "Don't be shameless when I'm giving you face." Considering the past so-called affection, this was the last chance he gave her. But immersed in the sorrow of losing the money tree, she made up her mind to cry out a breakup fee before getting up. Ethan got a headache from the crying noise. Rubbing Jane's phone in his hand to recover slightly, he called the security guard indirectly, ordering, "Throw this crying woman out for me. If she dares to come again in the future, call the police directly." The security guards took the money and did the job, naturally doing as told immediately. "What do you want to do?" Lola didn't expect Ethan to be for real this time. She shouted in horror, "Ethan, master, you can't be so heartless to me." Before she finished speaking, 2 security guards had already lifted her up from left and right. Like dragging cargo, they agilely took her out of the living room, through the yard, and threw her onto the walkway outside the gate, then quickly closed the door to report back. Blown by the cold wind, only then did Lola realize how unsuitable her appearance of only wearing underwear was for going out. She hugged her shoulders shivering, ringing the doorbell with a crying tone. "Ethan, I know I was wrong. For the sake of me carrying your baby, you can't treat me like this." The pleading voice was full of unwillingness and helplessness, but the security guards acted as if they heard nothing, only speeding up walking into the building. The leader went to Ethan's side, reporting, "CEO Wright, handled according to your instructions, but she refuses to leave." Ethan didn't even have a look of disgust on his face, unwilling to waste even a shred of emotion on Lola. He looked persistently at Jane's phone, waving his hand, "Take her to the hospital and abort the child. After that, I don't want to hear any news related to her." She was already a dead person in his eyes. The security guard understood, withdrawing immediately. Even the room door was closed in time to isolate all sounds he didn't like outside. Outside the gate, Lola was scantily clad. At first glance, it was no different from being naked. One had to get close to find she was wearing underwear. The location of the villa wasn't remote. Opposite the detached housing area was a high-rise community built by the same developer. The surrounding facilities were complete. Even on weekdays, many nearby residents passed by. At this time, pedestrians stopped to watch this spectacle one after another. Some even started pointing at her directly. Look at her appearance. She probably acted as a mistress destroying someone's family, got caught in bed by the original partner, and kicked out right. Didn't even put on clothes properly. Must be. Otherwise, who would strip like this in broad daylight, unless having special fetishes? Young people nowadays really don't learn well. If it were in the past, this would be called parading through the streets for public shaming. They discussed animatedly, not minding being heard by Lola at all. Lola tried to cover her face while lying on the iron gate. However, there were more and more people watching the excitement. She wanted to cover her body for warmth and block her face for shame, unable to attend to both for a moment. In desperation, she changed her wording to continue begging for mercy, facing inside the door. "CEO Wright, I won't dare anymore. 1,000 mistakes, 10,000 mistakes are all my fault. As long as you give me a piece of clothing, I promise never to appear in front of you again. I am even willing to admit mistakes to Mrs. Wright and help you reconcile." At this moment, she truly regretted it extremely. Originally, she had already fished a lot of benefits from Ethan, even if she couldn't become Mrs. Wright. Packaging herself as a socialite to catch another rich husband wouldn't be difficult. But if her reputation was ruined, these could only be dreams. Lola cried sadly, unaware that her words just now, although not reaching Ethan's ears, were heard clearly by the onlookers. Their gazes instantly changed from suspicion to disdain. Someone sneered, mocking, so she was kicked out by the man. Such a shameless woman deserves such punishment. Being kicked out by the original partner is one thing, but how can she be kicked out by the man too? Failed too miserably as a mistress. This family looks quite rich. Could she be throwing herself at him for money? Being a mistress and ending up in such a miserable state. If I were her, I would find a piece of tofu to crash into and die right now. Watching the excitement of beating a mistress was common, but getting to the point of being kicked out by the man was truly rare. Everyone spoke enthusiastically. Some people even took out phones, making video calls directly to friends and family to broadcast live. Lola covered her face, looking out tremblingly through the cracks of her fingers. Then she met many disdainful faces, men, women, old and young. Everyone was laughing at her. The anger and humiliation received from Ethan were instantly ignited by strangers' accusations and ridicule. She couldn't even care about covering her face, responding resentfully. What do you know? I am not a mistress. The one not loved in a relationship is the third party there is no first come. First served in love, he is married yet willing to be with me. That's because my charm is great. She often wrote this twisted logic in messages sent to provoke Jane. The other party never replied, making her think this trick really worked. Little did she know Jane just didn't want to waste time on unworthy people. Hearing Lola's high-flown theory, passers-by were first confused and shocked, then laughed out loud mercilessly. It was their first time hearing such a funny joke in reality. Listening to the rising and falling laughter, Lola realized her slip of the tongue, wishing to find a crack in the ground to crawl into. Yet someone in the crowd didn't mind the trouble growing bigger, asking loudly, "Since there is no first come, first served in love, that man must truly love you, right?" Lola gritted her teeth, responding, "Of course, he is sincere, actually." She didn't believe in things like sincerity at all. If sincerity were useful, Jane wouldn't have ended up leaving with nothing, missing alive or dead. She believed more in wherever the money was, the love was. The passerby's rhetorical question became more playful. "Really? Then how could he bear to let you stand on the street making a fool of yourself like this?" Lola was dumbfounded by the question, stammering, unable to answer. Because he, before finishing, she was cut off. "Isn't it because he treated you as a plaything on a whim, and now he's bored? Wake up quickly." Yeah, even a stranger encountering this situation would give you a piece of clothing at least. This mistress is truly stupid through and through. Thought she could fish for the man's benefits. Didn't expect she was the one played for free by the man. Still thinking of squeezing out the original partner to become official? Women still have to be independent and strong. Otherwise, ending up like this, what's the difference from being paraded in the streets? These people's words were mean and piercing. Every word was like a heavy hammer smashing onto Lola's heart. She realized belatedly that she was really dreaming. Ethan probably never considered marrying her from the start. Lola's worldview collapsed right there. She instantly lost the confidence to argue, wanting to leave in a muddle, but was stopped by an older woman who just finished grocery shopping and was preparing to go home. The woman cursed, hating the house and its crow. "It's precisely because of shameless women like you that trash men like my ex-husband find takers. Even interested in married men, I spit. What does your ex-husband cheating have to do with me? You are sick. Dare you say you didn't act as a mistress?" Lola couldn't take it anymore. She exploded hysterically. "Scram, all of you scram, the one I grabbed isn't your man. What moral high ground are you standing on here? You have no ability yourselves, can't keep your men, running here to bully me just because of jealousy." The older woman didn't show weakness. Seeing her making a scene, she pulled her directly toward the crowded place, shouting loudly for passers-by to come watch the excitement. "Take a look, everyone. This is the end of acting as a mistress destroying others' families." The already chaotic scene became completely out of control. Lola fought unwillingly with the older woman pulling her in the middle of the crowd. The other party pulled her only remaining bra strap. She reached out to pull the other's hair. The two fought inextricably, until the older woman's old sisters heard the news and rushed over. She fell into a disadvantage of 2 fists against 4 hands. The older woman vented all the anger of being deceived by her ex-husband and mistress onto Lola. "I'll beat you to death, you shameless vixen, letting you seduce men." Such drama was vulgar but particularly attractive. Before long, onlookers stood 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside. "Stop fighting," Lola was about to collapse. Surrounded, she couldn't escape at all, only cowering amidst the older woman's insults, wanting to escape in the chaos but failing. Some men with wretched appearances kept getting close to watch lecherously. At this time, they simply took the opportunity to reach out, wanting to take advantage of Lola. They had long been drooling over her fair skin and young body. Touched on the shoulder, Lola instantly turned pale with fright, wailing loudly. Help, still no movement in the villa. However, in broad daylight, those men didn't dare to go too far, just staring at her maliciously, occasionally winking and commenting. When had Lola ever suffered such great humiliation? Near collapse in extreme panic and anger, she looked up and shouted, "Whoever is willing to help me, I'll sleep with whoever tonight." Exchanging her body for things she wanted had become her habit. As soon as this was said, several men in the crowd instantly showed greed, eager to get close to her. Fortunately, people next to them pulled them back with quick eyes and hands. One man shook off his companion with a dissatisfied face. "Why stop me?" What a good deal. He was afraid if he acted slowly, others would hand clothes to Lola first, and there wouldn't be such a big bargain to pick up in the future. But the companion reminded him, "Wake up quickly. This woman is so casual. Maybe she has a disease." Several other men who had already taken steps also froze on the spot. Yeah, where could cheap advantages be taken so easily? This mistress was young, beautiful, and willing to go all out. Why would she be stripped of clothes and kicked out by a man for no reason? The man who was taking off his jacket also stopped his movement. Seeing this, the older woman shouted along, "Everyone watch out. This shameless mistress doesn't forget to seduce men even in this state. Maybe she got a disease and deliberately came out to spread it to retaliate against society." Several men whose hearts were itching retreated 3 steps away, daring not approach Lola again. I don't have," Lola defended with a pale face. But how could this kind of thing be explained clearly? Her voice couldn't compete with the older woman and the summoned old sisters. Her voice was quickly drowned out. When the crowd watched enough excitement and dispersed, there was still no movement in the villa behind. Lola looked over in despair, only able to see curtains drawn tight in the living room and servants wandering around in the yard under the name of working, actually watching the excitement secretly. "What are you looking at?" She couldn't out-curse the passers-by mocking her, bullying the soft and fearing the hard. She vented her anger on the servants across the iron gate. "What right do you have to laugh at me? At least I lived freely. The money I got is what you can't earn in a lifetime of cleaning." The servants watched the excitement, but none dared to get involved with her. They immediately retreated indoors, ignoring her. Lola was left outside alone, seemingly abandoned by the whole world. A gust of cold wind blew. She huddled and hugged herself tightly, wanting to walk home along the wind-blocking wall or go to the police station for help. However, passing an alley, she met the gaze of a dirty stray dog by the roadside. The stray dog was extremely vigilant, immediately raising its tail and barking wildly at her. Woof, scared and angry, Lola picked up a stone and threw it over. "Even a dog dares to bully me." The stray dog confirmed she was a threat, baring fangs on the spot and pouncing on her. If caught, a tearing bite was inevitable. Lola was scantily clad. Getting bitten meant no buffer at all. Her legs went soft with fear, but she didn't dare stop. Holding the wall, she rolled and crawled, fleeing in the opposite direction of the stray dog. To shake it off, she turned whenever seeing alleys and intersections, daring not look back even once. At first, the barking behind followed like a shadow. But after she shuttled through narrow streets and dim alleys for a long time, only the whistling wind and her heavy panting remained in her ears. After unknown time passed, she couldn't run anymore, collapsing on the ground, panting heavily. But the surrounding environment also became extremely strange, having even left the urban area. Looking at the weed-overgrown wasteland before her, Lola cried out helplessly, "Is anyone there? Help, where am I?" Only the wind and the wilderness responded. Here was uninhabited, not even a road sign. The only living things were stray cats and dogs. She couldn't find anyone to help. Even if she wanted to risk her face to call the police, It was the same helplessness. Lola regretted extremely at this time. Had she known Jane was actually capable, she should have proceeded slowly instead of ending up losing everything like now. That night, she couldn't find the way back and was afraid of meeting bad people. She had to curl up under a big tree in the desolate wilderness to endure the night. Until the next morning, she was found by a passerby coming here to fish, who called the police and sent her home. Through this tossing, Lola's reputation was completely ruined, and she got sick from the cold wind. However, her road of bad luck didn't end here. Early the next morning, 2 men in black appeared, forcing her to the hospital. Only when she was brought into the operating room did she let out a pig slaughtering howl. "What right do you have to touch my child? I am carrying Ethan Wright's eldest son, who will inherit the Wright family's property in the future. Stop shouting. It was CEO Wright who instructed us to abort the child in your belly." What? Ethan was even more heartless than she thought. When Ethan received the news, he didn't even plan to finish listening, waving his hand with a cold face. "Just abort it. Don't tell me about her matters in the future. If she makes trouble again, find a way to deal with it cleanly." "Yes." The assistant immediately changed the topic. "CEO Wright, there is one more thing to report to you. The private detective found a person who looks very much like the madam in a foreign country. But because the surveillance quality isn't clear, it can't be completely confirmed." Ethan dared not delay for a moment. He bought the ticket for the earliest flight without hesitation, following closely to the foreign country. Arriving at the destination, he didn't even leave himself a gap to breathe, immediately contacting the private detective again. The private detective took him and quickly found the apartment said to be rented by that girl. Whatever, he arrived too late. After knocking on the door, an old foreign lady came out, looking vigilantly at him and the police who came along asking, "What business do you have looking for me?" Ethan asked hopefully. "Did an Asian female tenant live here? I am her husband, looking for her for something." The old lady looked him up and down with a cold expression. "I am the landlady here. The tenant you mentioned was here, but she checked out and left 3 days ago." Before finishing speaking, she reached out to close the door. Ethan jammed the door, risking his hand getting caught, asking anxiously, "Did she say where she would go? Like a travel destination or something? I am really worried about her." The landlady couldn't really clamp his hand in front of the police but said impatiently, "I don't know. Men should have grace, not pester endlessly after separating. Sir, please let go." She hadn't been in contact with Jane for long, but as women, there was this tacit understanding. She had already guessed the other party came across the ocean because of heartbreak. Ethan didn't expect the hurt he brought Jane was so obvious. He withdrew his hand sheepishly. The next second, the door was slammed shut with a bang. Ethan felt guilty, yet still unwilling to just give up the relationship of so many years with Jane. He mobilized all connections he could mobilize, even hiring private detectives at a high price to check entry and exit information of major airports, trying to find clues related to Jane's whereabouts. But the result was the same as his efforts in the country. No matter how seasoned the detectives he hired were, they couldn't find any records related to her. Whether Jane Sterling, Silhouette, or Lyra Vance, there were no records. Jane seemed to have evaporated from the world. Thus, Ethan completely lost the only remaining connection with her. Ethan went nowhere after returning to the country. He dragged heavy steps like a walking corpse into his home, then locked himself in the bedroom under the servants' surprised gazes. From this day on, the number of times he stepped out of the room became countable on fingers, looking like he intended to isolate himself from the outside world. The servants saw it, but none dared to persuade him. Anyway, their wages were automatically transferred to cards. Just continuing to work according to Jane's instructions before leaving would do. Until the assistant came to visit Ethan once, realizing the situation was bad and notifying his parents. Mr. and Mrs. Wright Sr. always thought Ethan and Jane lived happily, and it would be perfect adding a small child. Unexpectedly, unbeknownst to them, the young couple reached the point of marital breakdown. They rushed over immediately. The villa looked no different from before. Everywhere was bright and clean. Even the fresh flowers in the living room vase were remembered by servants to be changed every few days. Only the owner, Ethan, was missing. Mrs. Wright worriedly stopped a servant asking, "Where is Ethan? How has he been recently?" The servant was also afraid of something happening to the employer. Seeing someone finally came to manage things, she hurriedly relayed the situation. CEO Wright kept locking himself in the bedroom. We deliver meals 3 times a day, but he doesn't eat or drink, just sitting at the table writing. Mrs. Wright wondered. Writing what? The servant shook her head with a face full of confusion. Don't know, didn't dare to look. Hearing this, Mr. Wright became even more anxious immediately. He rushed directly upstairs, first knocked on the bedroom door, seeing no one opened, simply kicked it open, then rushed in with his wife, only to see Ethan turn a deaf ear to such a big commotion. He sat at the table with his back to them, mechanically repeating the action of writing on paper. Aside his hand lay a stack of filled notebooks. Mr. and Mrs. Wright leaned in together to look, both shocked in their hearts. Ethan wrote, Janie, I was wrong line after line on the paper. This sentence densely covered a whole sheet of paper, seemingly venting the pain and remorse deep in his heart through this way. Mrs. Wright felt heartache for her son, persuading him with a crying tone, Jane is already dead. Even if you torture yourself like this, she won't come back to life. Who told you to do such shameful things? Mr. Wright sighed along. You should dare to act and dare to accept. If you repented earlier, would it have come to this step? They knew the fault lay with Ethan, but he was their own flesh and blood after all. Things having come to this, they only hoped he could walk out of the shadow as soon as possible. But Ethan obviously didn't intend to accept reality. He raised his red eyes, saying firmly, Dad, Mom, believe me, Janie definitely didn't die. She's just hiding from me. As long as I finish writing these sincerely, Janie will definitely forgive me and come back to find me. Voice falling. He lowered his head again, continuing to write these apology letters destined not to be seen by Jane. Seeing her son so obsessed, Mrs. Wright cried, urging her husband, think of a way. If he goes on like this, there might be problems mentally. He now, Mr. Wright wanted to say his appearance now looked like he was already stimulated, but considering his wife's feelings, he changed his words. Doesn't he just want to see Janie again? Let's grant his wish. But the police have concluded Jane indeed fell off the cliff, no remains found. How to let him see Jane? Must give him some hope. If really forcing him to accept the fact Jane passed away, I'm afraid he won't survive either. Mr. Wright took the initiative to sign Ethan up for a missing persons search program to cheer him up. Ethan even actively contacted the program team to add investment. The only request was to add a public apology segment for him. The program team got money and hype, naturally eager. They immediately adjusted the schedule to slot him in, making him the guest of the latest episode. On the live broadcast day, Ethan set off directly from home. He showered and changed clothes, but didn't deliberately cover up his haggard face and mental state. The person who used to care most about face appeared in front of the camera in his original state. The host did homework in advance. Looking at the guest in front, then at the photo on the profile, she could hardly connect them. But she quickly found room to play, asking a very topical question. Mr. Wright, how have you been recently? Very bad. Ethan sat dejectedly under the spotlight, displaying his exhaustion and pain fully in front of people for the first time. At this time, the big screen was projecting his photo when he was high-spirited, looking like 2 different people. The audience saw a successful person exposing his shortcomings for the first time, holding breath one after another, looking forward to his next performance. Ethan behaved incomparably candidly. Even when the host asked about the party at fault in their marriage, he spoke bluntly, "Because I cheated." The audience was in an uproar. The gazes looking at him also became complicated, disdain, astonishment, and curiosity. Ethan knew the company's stock price would inevitably be affected after this episode aired, but he didn't care at all. He just slowly raised his head, looked around calmly, then said hoarsely, "I came today not only to find my wife, but also to say sorry to her. We have been together for many years, feelings starting from student days. She always cared for me, supported me, and gave a lot for my career, even at the cost of affecting her beloved photography career. But I ignored her feelings." He wasn't unaware of how much support Jane provided for the company's development. He was just numbing himself. It will be fine. Everything will be fine. When he succeeds in his career, he will definitely compensate her well. He said these words countless times, even believing them himself. until she left so resolutely, he realized he was lying. Ethan's voice began to tremble. After choking up, he faced the camera with a desperate expression again. I hurt her deeply because of my stupidity, vanity, and ridiculous machismo. So I dare not ask for forgiveness, only hoping she can give me a chance to see her once. Clips of him crying in front of the camera quickly caused discussion online. Some said his attitude was sincere and he really knew he was wrong. Others said this was just a scumbag's performance. Most people were confused. Isn't Mrs. Wright already declared dead by the police? Why does CEO Wright still come out to find her? Probably can't accept this reality. Who told him to cheat himself? Mrs. Wright is dead, and now he comes out to posture. Crocodile tears. However, all this had nothing to do with him. He only cared about Jane's attitude. To maximize the spread of this matter, Ethan immediately had the PR department post this video on the company's official website and placed ads on mainstream social media platforms globally, replacing the company promotional video. As for his phone, it was kept on 24/7, afraid of missing any news related to Jane. Days passed. Quite a few people called to contact him, but none related to the person he expected. At first, it was some scammers claiming to have seen Jane. They casually made up an encounter location and dared to ask him for money. Ethan had vague guesses in his heart, but living entirely on this bit of hope, he would rather send money to deceive himself. Over time, who knows how much unjust money was spent on this. Mr. and Mrs. Wright saw it and felt pain in their hearts, but neither advised him not to send money. If spending some money could make him feel better, let him be. They just didn't expect Ethan's psychological state, already on the verge of despair, would be bad to this extent. Later, even scammers had fished enough money and didn't want to lie to him anymore. Only some strange women remained calling him. They made no secret of their intentions, using soft and charming voices directly on the receiver to tempt him. Mr. Wright, although your wife ignores you, if you are lonely, we have all kinds of women here. Wanting one looking like your wife is also possible. The last sentence enraged Ethan. He was furious. Scram, you all get out who allowed you to insult her like this. Scram, these malicious numbers became the first wave blocked by him. In the blink of an eye, another month passed. Ethan finally couldn't hold on and fainted at home. Thanks to the servant finding him in time and sending him to the hospital, his life wasn't endangered. After diagnosis, the doctor called Ethan's parents outside with a grave expression. His mental condition is very bad. If it continues to deteriorate, suicidal thoughts might likely arise. You better send him to receive psychological treatment as soon as possible. Mr. and Mrs. Wright knew clearly where the crux of his heartache lay, but they had no plan. They bought the best plot in the cemetery for Jane, putting that blood-stained shirt inside. The two elderly people put fresh flowers in front of the tombstone and burned incense. Janie, Ethan already knows he was wrong. Rest in peace in the netherworld. They didn't know that at this time, Jane was on a trip around the world, never going online, let alone paying attention to any news related to the past. Ethan was eventually sent to a sanatorium. Staying for a full 5 years, he was discharged and returned to normal life. However, he completely lost enthusiasm for work, choosing to withdraw from management by holding shares for dividends. From this day on, he bid farewell to his past life and embarked on a journey around the world alone, wanting to see with his own eyes those places planned together with Jane but never set foot in. Until arriving at an island country in the southern hemisphere, a family of 3 on the other side of the beach attracted his attention. The wife was a young and beautiful woman. Holding a camera, she was taking pictures of a child building a sandcastle. Her profile was gentle and quiet, as beautiful as back then. Another tall man walked to the child, lifted him up to ride on his neck, then held the wife's hand with a doting face. "Lyra, what do you want to eat tonight?" "Anything is fine. See what the baby wants to eat?" The child riding a horse on Dad's neck laughed happily. "Mom, I want to eat fries." "Okay, then eat fries." The man chuckled. "I thought you would stop him from eating. Fries aren't healthy after all." The woman acted spoiled. "But I want to eat too." "Okay, let's go together." Lyra Vance. The name she chose meant distance. For some reason, hearing this name, Ethan suddenly felt his heart stop beating. Could it be her? In his hesitation, her figure was gone from his vision. None of the family of 3 noticed the existence of another person beside them, walking away laughing and talking like that. The end.